All right, today we're talking about things that can transform your life in 5 minutes. These days, everyone's so busy, there's so much stuff going on, and this principle that something small can sometimes fill your cup and give you that juice that you need to go on or to step into a new direction in your life or to create the thing you've always wanted to create. So, Mike, 5 things that can transform your life, or 5 minutes that can transform your life. So I'm thinking, for me, definitely like music. Coming back to music is such a beautiful awakening for me. Always, just like 5 minutes to just play my guitar, 5 minutes to play my didgeridoo. It's always such a huge transformation on so many levels. Over to you, mate.
Yeah, I resonate with that one as well, mate. I find that no matter what's gone on, no matter what, if I can get myself to the guitar, or the didge, it's such a healthy healing practice to bring myself back to the present moment. Yeah, I deeply resonate with that one.
100%. One thing that I actually got from you as well, when I was doing your men's container over the summer, was just to take 5 minutes to stop and just go outside and listen to nature. And something I guess I've sort of done always, but I don't know, when you shared it with me, I was like, right, I'm going to just really consciously inject that into my day. And often I'll just go for 5 minutes and sit on my hammock and just listen to the birds, listen to the nature, listen to the water, listen to the wind, and oh man, it just changes everything in just 5 minutes. It's like I go out one color and come back like a completely different energy. I swear if they were mapping out my biofield, you'd just see such huge results in 5 minutes. So thank you for that one.
Yeah, pleasure. I mean, that's, I was laughing when you were doing the intro because that's exactly what I did 5 minutes before this podcast. I took my clothes off, got my feet in the ground and just went for a walk on I got a beautiful, couple of acres, and I just walked in the grass and sang the song that we were just working on earlier. As I walked in the grass, got some vitamin D, and literally I was walking, I was moving, I was feeling the earth underneath me. And what I think this is a real key thing for people there is like what you referred to is just getting outside and listening to nature. But, what we don't realize is we're in nature, which means the word nature is natural, and we're in our natural habitat. We're grounding ourselves into the earth. And, when the human heart is operating at 72 beats per minute, the frequency of the heart at that point in time is the centerpiece of every frequency for every living thing on this planet. And so when we move, and most people's resting heart rate throughout the day is probably sitting at around 72 beats. And so when we submerge ourselves in nature, we move back to our natural state. And that grounding is just like a PowerPoint, like we've got the two charges, positive and negative charges, to create electricity. Then we have a grounding force, which is the center one that goes right, bang in the middle. And that's what we need as humans. We're biofields. We're positively and negative charged ions moving around in this mass suit. And we need to ground ourselves, to earth ourselves. And so when we go and lay in the hammock, or we sit amongst the trees, or we walk amongst the trees and we listen to nature, we come our most natural state, which is exactly how we were designed and meant to live and be, was be, not do, not to have. We're meant to be in existence, be in the more present than listening to your breath or listening to the birds and smiling to try and figure out which tree they're in, feel the resonance of the bird. And at that point, we come back to being one. We've moved away from the separation and the busyness and that the world and the programming of the world wants to have us in. It brings us back to our natural state. So I love that one.
Yeah, beautiful, brother. Yeah, so what about for you? What's your 5 minutes? What's your things?
One of the things that I really lean into is the toss up between breathwork and meditation. And sometimes they're combined. I guess it depends what I need in that moment it really does change my state. We're working on the body at that point. So meditation is probably, if you ask me to write a book to say, what is the one thing, if someone was to do one thing in life to change your life and have a really fulfilling life, what would it be? I hands down would write meditation. That would be the end of the book, start and the end of the book.
So can you dive into that a little bit for, let's say, the newbie out there that's like, oh, that meditation, like I just don't have time to stop for 5 minutes, like it can't be that good. Like what do you love about it? What's your sell me meditation?
It's something I couldn't do because I had that belief that I couldn't do it. And when I was in my old corporate ways, it was about hustle and grind, and if you sleep when you're dead kind of mentality. And what meditation does, and since I've learned how to do it, it allows me to slow down, to speed up. And what I mean by that is, if you're in the corporate world, the best thing you can do is meditate. And if you look at all the successful CEOs, the people who accredit the greatest level of their success to meditation is like Steve Jobs, Elon Musk, some of the greats, because they're visionary people, right? They have big picture thinking. They're not in the minutia. They're so visionary. And where do you think vision comes from? Our third eye, our mind's eye. And we have to connect in with our higher self, because our dense body, we have to move through time and space, but our ethereal mind can transcend time and space. And that's where they see these big visions. So just to improve your life, though, I can guarantee that if statistically shows 10 minutes of meditation per day is the blue ribbon. You don't need any more than that. But if you can only do 5, just do 5. And I remember when I first started out, I couldn't do a minute. I would literally start the timer and I'd have one eye open, checking the timer at like 15 seconds. And I'm like, far out. I can't even get that far. And persevered and persisted with it. And now I meditate a couple of times a day, but it's because there's no better place for me to be. Like, I'm in the present moment. You know, if I move into the past, I'm ruminating over the pains and the voids of the past and the things that hurt me. And then if I go out into the future, it's a scary place because I'm moving into this unpredictable, unknown world. And all I have right now is this next breath that I take in. There's nothing more safe. There's nothing more secure than that. And it helps me regulate my nervous system. It brings me into a state of bliss. And it brings me into a state of I'm okay. It brings me into a state of I feel safe. And there's nothing more that people want, because the highest, like you look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, the number one pillar is safety, certainty, and security. I need a roof over my head. I need to know I've got food on the table, and I need to know I'm not going to get eaten by a saber-toothed tiger, you know, or whatever the current day threat is. So meditation has changed my life. You know, I'm more calm, I'm more centered. And when I said I slow down to speed up, I teach this to all my clients who are still in that sort of, you know, they've got to push and they've got to grind and they believe that's still the way. What I've taught them to do is to great, look at all the times that you've hustled and you've pushed and you've worked 1,000,000 hours and you didn't take a break and you were overtired. Now review your work. How many mistakes did you make? How many times did you have to redo it? How many apologies did you have to make? How many deadlines did you miss? Countless. And so when I meditate and bring myself into the present moment, I have laser-like focus. I find the one thing that I need to do, because I can now see the forest for the trees. I can actually see everything. But when I'm in that hustle and grind mentality, I can't see the forest for the trees. I'm just too deep in it.
Yeah.
And that moment, I can go, you know what? The most efficient, beneficial thing for me to do right now is that one thing. And I've got a regulated nervous system, which allows me to do that one thing. And I don't have mistakes. I don't miss money. I don't anything. It's smooth, which allows me the bandwidth to do more things, which is why I say it slows me down so that I can be more efficient or speed up.
Yeah.
It's powerful, man. It's really, really powerful. It's beautiful. And the other thing is, it feels great.
Yeah.
Like, I know that's weird, but when you get, I guess, enough hours under the belt, that I get happy walking over to my meditation mat because I know I'm going to feel good.
Wow.
That's the beautiful part. Where it's like we're on this planet, we're on this rock to experience all this human thing that there is to have, all the emotions. Why not try and maximize the amount of time that I get the good ones for? Meditation does that for me. I could have an argument with a beloved and I'll go and meditate and see exactly where I went wrong. And I can come instantly into a sense of gratitude, an apology, with an awareness of like, you know what, honey, I'm really sorry. I've seen my ways. I was out of line with this one. I'm going to take full responsibility for it. And literally that could be like argument, sit down, meditate, walk back 10 minutes later. And I'm like, hey, I got this solved. I fixed it. For me, you know, but in the past, I would have sat in that argument for 5 days, holding on to my version of reality, which I needed to be right on.
Yeah.
So meditation's really, really powerful. Yeah, it's a huge one. It will change your life.
I love that, what you just said about you know, holding on to things. Maybe in earlier days in your life you would have chosen to hold on to something for days as opposed to maybe weeks or as opposed to like hours or minutes, you know. And that's something that is really just such an incredible practice to. It's always blown me away that some people say, you know, like I separated with my wife and, you know, it's been 10 years now and I still think about it every day and I'm never going to recover and I'm going to be that, you know, that and that. And other people are like, you know, we've been separated for 2 weeks now and I feel great. And I'm thinking, you know, maybe that's a could be a cover up, it might not be the truth, but let's say, people that really say process that in a shorter amount of time, like really process it compared to a longer amount of time. Why is that? And some people might judge and say, oh, the guy that's done it only for 2 weeks, he hasn't felt it, or he hasn't 2 weeks is probably a short time. Let's say 6 months, right? The guy's processed this for 6 months. He's really, it's not right. He should be holding on to that for longer. Or the guy that's been 10 years, it's like, that's the right amount of time. That's how long you should be in pain for. So whatever. But I don't know. I just think it's doing the work, and all these practices are in our own reach. Like we get to choose how long we hold on to the story for. Sort of, somewhat. There's a fine line. You got to feel it and stuff. But I don't know. That's sort of. I feel like that's what I've learned with my studies with, I guess, tantra and energetics and stuff, and meditation for sure. Is that ability to process things much quicker than otherwise of just sitting in it.
There's a beautiful story about two monks that were walking through the mountains, and they came along a river crossing, and there was a woman there, and she couldn't cross the river because it was a little too high for her. And the monks are not allowed to touch women. That's against their philosophy and their traditions. And the elder monk picked up the lady, put her on her shoulder, and he carried her across the river and got to the other side, put the woman down, and they went their separate ways. And after about 5 hours, they've been traipsing through the mountains and carrying on their walk. The younger monk said to the older monk, he said, I've got it, Master, I have to ask, you picked up that woman. How could you touch that woman? And the older monk turned around and said, oh, you're still carrying her? I put her down 5 hours ago.
Wow.
And there is that, what you're referring to, it's just the, I guess a metaphor for what you're referring to. And it's called a Planck length, which is the smallest unit and measurement of time in the human experience. And the wise master realizes that he can process this thing of, I picked up the woman and I can also put her down and leave it right where it was. Or if I've got a really long Planck length, I could hold on to that, like you said, with the person who's been married, got divorced, and still hanging on 10 years later. Their Planck length is extremely long. It's a 10-year Planck length. And what I find in that moment is the depth of someone's awareness and consciousness, because it's our ability to pivot from triggered event into a neutralized state, and the speed of which we do shows our wisdom.
Yeah.
And so, I think it's always this, like we're always growing and learning. I'm learning how quickly can I neutralize the charge that I have over this particular event, and can I do it real time? Like I'm in the event, I've been triggered, can I neutralize it right now? See the benefits and the drawbacks to it, see where I went wrong. Maybe I have to do some deep breathing, but reducing my Planck length would be my goal.
Beautiful. And if there's anyone out there listening that's like, oh, that sounds great, I'd love to do that, but I don't know where to start, probably The Power of Now would probably be the best place to start. The book, The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle, which I think is just such a beautiful step into spirituality. If you're, a newbie into any of these things we're speaking about, then that's probably just the greatest place to start, where he bridges it between the kind of the non-spiritual world and the deeply spiritual world in just about every word. So yeah, maybe check that out. But that skill of being able to witness rather than getting caught up in it, just to be able to witness the scenarios and the things that are becoming outcomes, the things that are happening in the moment. It's such an art form to witness and not get so caught up in it. And if you can bring that into the real time, which I feel like a lot of The Power of Now is about, those concepts and principles of making that even a possibility, which the practice never ends. But what a place to start. And I love that, brother. Thank you for sharing. That's epic.
Thank you, brother. What have you got, mate? What's your next category thing?
I think just kind of what I just said, like just going and listen to The Power of Now 5 minutes a day, I think would be a great thing to incorporate in anyone's life. 5 minutes of that can change your life. And, I've said it before, I think 5 minutes of any book that really deeply resonates you, of that inspiring sense, be it The Power of Now or Conversations with God, which we've mentioned on this platform before, or anyone that you're into, the Tony Robbinsons or the Joe Dispenzas or the Gary V's been my new guy, and he's your old guy, I think. So and I'm just loving it. I'm just absolutely loving it. It's just like so cool, and each one of those characters just brings a whole nother level of awareness to my life and a whole nother depth of being who I really am and who I really want to be, and how those things ebb and flow. Just even that conversation we just had about the triggers and how we can hold on to things for a long time or a short time. I remember a beautiful woman that I separated with around my early 30s, and it was months and months and months of trauma that I chose to put myself through in that experience. And looking back, I was like, why did I choose that? And it felt right. I didn't know any other way in the time, but wow, I really, really chose to be in that for a long period. And another friend of mine that spent 10 years in a separation in his mind that was so done, and just chose to really live it for like 10 years of like moping around, and the story of you'll never get it, you'll never be through what I went through, and you'll never be able to love someone like I was able to love this person. You'll never understand that, And can you measure love? Is being in love with someone for 6 months or 1 year less potent than being in love with someone for 20 years? Like, I've never kind of got that one either, I think. And you can't really measure it because you're not me and I'm not you. So even if you think you've got the answer, well, maybe your truth is maybe an illusion, or your illusion is your truth, whatever you want to say. But how do you measure love, and how do you measure that anyway?
For me, love is a frequency. It's not the emotion. I think truly most people experience the emotion of lust, which is usually, it's love is unconditional. It's like when you see a puppy, you instantly fall in love with it. You don't know why. You can't justify. You don't even know its name yet. You're like, oh my God, your voice changes everything, like you're in adoration.
Yeah.
True, right?
Yeah.
When you see a baby, and babies aren't cute, but they're not, right? Generally, systemically speaking. But you go, oh, and there's this gasp of a deep breath in, and it's like an inspiration because you've seen this newborn baby, which is untouched, it's perfectly formed, and you have this love. You don't even know its name yet, and you're like, oh my God, it's so beautiful. And you just and your eyes are like saucer plates looking at this thing. That's unconditional love. But then when we move into these relationships, it's like, oh, I love you, and I love you unconditionally as long as you stay with me, or as long as you don't you dare cheat on me, or don't you look at another woman or another man, or don't you. That's conditional. It's like, well, what if I just loved you anyway, like through all your flaws and all your messes? Why do I love you? I don't know. I actually don't know why I love you, because it's a frequency. It's a pulling into your vortex that I need to be in. I'm desiring to be in it, and it's captivating. And when I see you, it's like, just like I do with the baby, it's breathtaking, and breath is to inspire, and inspire is to breathe life into, so that woman, that man, whoever is inspiring, breathing life into me just by their sheer presence, that is unconditional love.
Yeah.
But everything else I see, the vast majority of people, I think, are in the experience of lust, and there's a very slippery slope to that one. It's got a different energy to it.
100%. And we definitely need to do a whole podcast on that one too. I think that, just to sort of summarize then these themes of 5 minutes, things that can change your life in 5 minutes. So we've seen some themes of things that make us feel love, things that we love to do, things that can inspire us to be better people, and nature. I think that's kind of summed it up. Yeah. I'm
going to throw one more in.
Yeah.
Just in the spirit of our podcast, which is, and we've covered off spirit in the pod, which is, we spoke into spirituality, but accountability. Like, I find getting on a phone call with you could bring me out of, or hold me to account to a higher level, which instantly makes me think differently. It challenges my pattern, whatever. I think that level of accountability with a dear, be it beloved or a brother or a mentor, whatever your calling is, I find that can change your life. Like, I get on the phone to you and it's like 5 minutes, my day changes, or I think about something new, or you bring something into my awareness, and I think that can change your life in 5 minutes.
100%. And as soon as you said there's one more thing, I knew it was going to be what you just said, and I was like, yes, of course, we forgot about accountability, right? And that definitely is probably the biggest changer of all for me. Like, literally, the accountability, maybe a little obsessive compulsive as I look around my desk and see all the notes of accountability. Literally, I can probably see 100 pieces of paper scattered over my desk right now. But it wasn't like that when I started this morning. I've got so excited throughout my day that I've kind of moved these notes around with all these things that I'm being accountable for, and having clear, concise methods of that. Like those 100 pieces of paper have to come down to 5 now, and those 5 have to be a reasonable task for me to complete by the end of the day, because it gives me that sense of fullness and that sense of life and excitement to do what I do. And without that accountability, and I'm always going out of my way to give myself extra accountability. I do my best to do it all, and I definitely don't do it all. I do my best to do it all, but I definitely fail sometimes. But that's the beauty of it. But yeah, got to do it. Accountability.
Yeah, I think if you can hold yourself to a certain level of accountability, I think that's impressive. But I also think when you get on the phone or call or whatever with one of your mentors or coaches, whoever, it just raises the bar, because we can all lie to ourselves and go, yeah, that was a good job. And then we get in front of your coach and he's like, what have you been doing all week?
Yeah,
So,
definitely.
I think that sort of, because they're there to hold you to a higher standard. And as humans, we've got a very innate ability to lie to ourselves. I think.
Yeah.
And we go, yeah, that was good. And we know it wasn't, but we feel good with that lie.
Yep. No, I love that, brother. Yeah, so true. And that thing that the coach element brings to it. It's so funny what you just said about how we think, sometimes I've done a good job, and then the coach is like, what have you been doing all week? I can think of a few times that's happened to me. And yes, those coaches are potent tools.
Yeah. I mean, I see it with my clients, and they come in all proud of what they've done, and I'm like, but that's not specific. There was no target, there was no this. And they're like, oh yeah, wow, I didn't even think of that. Because you only know what you know. You can only see what you can see. And as that coach has the beautiful ability to be the observer, because they're not involved in your everyday waking moment.
Yeah.
They can see behind the veil. They can see what your story is as well. And so huge accountability, which the whole lot ties in really nicely. Unplanned music, spirit, and accountability for the podcast name.
Yes.
Very clever job. Well done.
Yeah, we did it. We're doing it. I think we're at about episode 20 or 21 today, so that's super exciting too, man. What an achievement. Congratulations to us. That's a beautiful account. And that's, come from that accountability to show up to hang out with each other. That was how we birthed this, right? So looking forward to getting to 100.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for all your hard work too, brother. It's amazing.
Doing it. Epic, brother. Let's wrap it up there. I shall see you next week.
Hey, brother. Talk soon.
Thank you.